Part 3, the new Busan appeared on long-range scanners 5 days later. It was massive, designed to carry thousands of colonists to frontier worlds. But according to their distress signal, they weren't continuing to their destination. They needed help immediately. Dr. Talvesh stood in the station's command center reading the medical report with growing concern. 347 dogs aboard the colony ship had fallen ill. A mysterious pathogen was spreading rapidly through the canine population. The ship's basic medical facilities couldn't handle the crisis. "They want to dock here," the station administrator said nervously. 300 predators on our station. 300 patients, Talvesh corrected. Sick patients who need immediate care. I know the protocols, Talvesh interrupted. But we're doctors. Our first duty is to save lives, not follow rules that don't account for situations like this. Before the administrator could respond, Lee Do-yun entered the command center with Kwan Mina. Baram walked beside them, fully recovered now. The dog's presence still made several station personnel nervous, but they'd grown used to him. "We'll help," Do-yun said. "Mina and I can ferry medical supplies between the ships. We know how to handle dogs. We can guide your staff." "If they'll even help," Mina added bitterly. "Most of your people are too scared to get near one dog. How will they handle hundreds?" Talvesh looked at Nurse Yix, the crystalline being pulsed with uncertain yellow light. "Dr. I'll volunteer. After working with Baram, I believe I can manage." "I'll help too," came a voice from the doorway. It was Bextal, the young Calorian intern who'd watched the surgery. "I want to learn." More volunteers stepped forward. Not many, but enough. Most were young, students and interns who'd grown up hearing about humans and their strange customs. They were curious rather than afraid. The station administrator finally agreed with conditions. The dogs would be treated in a converted cargo bay, separate from the main medical facilities. Armed security would stand by, and at the first sign of danger, the entire operation would shut down. Talvesh accepted these terms, though he found them insulting. But this wasn't the time to argue. Lives were at stake. The new Busan docked 12 hours later. Dr. Park Ji-hee, the colony ship's chief medical officer, came aboard first. She was a human woman in her 50s, carrying a data pad filled with medical records and test results. "Thank you for agreeing to help," she said to Talvesh. "I know this is unusual, but these dogs aren't just animals to us. They're family, service animals, therapy companions. Some of these colonists depend on their dogs to function in daily life." She showed Talvesh footage from the ship. A small human boy, perhaps 7 years old, sitting beside a large white dog. That's Choi Hyunwoo and his dog Nuri. She's a Jindo breed. Hyunwoo has a neurological condition. Nuri can detect his seizures before they happen, giving him time to get safe. Without her, he's in constant danger. "And Nuri is sick?" Talvesh asked. "She's one of the worst cases. We have maybe 48 hours before we start losing dogs." Talvesh felt his 3 hearts constrict. Time was running out. "Show me the pathogen data," Park Ji-hee explained as they walked to the cargo bay. The disease was a mutated virus that had jumped species from plants the colonists collected on an agricultural world. It attacked the dog's respiratory systems and immune responses. "It spread quickly through close contact. Can you treat it?" Park Ji-hee asked. "Unknown," Talvesh admitted, "but I'll try." The cargo bay had been converted into an emergency veterinary hospital. Medical equipment lined the walls. Treatment stations were arranged in rows. Volunteer staff stood nervously, waiting for the patients to arrive. When the first transport arrived with 20 sick dogs, the bay fell silent. The animals were in bad shape. Breathing hard, eyes dull, some could barely stand. Human handlers guided them carefully to treatment stations. For many alien staff members, this was their first time seeing dogs up close. The size and power of the animals was intimidating. A golden-colored dog, bigger than some of the smaller aliens, walked past Bextal. The intern froze, every instinct screaming danger. But then the intern noticed something. The dog's tail was tucked between its legs. Its ears were flat. Its whole posture screamed submission and fear. This predator was terrified. "It's okay," the human handler said gently to the dog. "These people are going to help you." "It's okay, Hanul." Bextal realized something important. The dog wasn't aggressive. It was scared, just like the intern felt scared. They were both in a strange situation, both uncertain, both needing help. The intern stepped forward slowly, I'll take this one. If you show me how. Over the next hours, alien medical staff began treating the sick dogs. It was awkward at first. Mistakes were made. A Pylathian intern named Vreshla tried to approach a German shepherd too quickly and the dog growled. The alien fled in panic, but the human handlers were patient. They showed the aliens how to move slowly, how to speak gently, how to let the dog sniff them first. Gradually, confidence grew. Dr. Talvesh worked at the center of it all, moving between stations. He analyzed the pathogen, tested different treatments, monitored responses. Park Ji-hee worked beside him, her human medical knowledge combining with his alien expertise. This antimicrobial should work, Talvesh said, examining test results. It's broad spectrum, designed for cross-species use. Try it on the less severe cases first, Park Ji-hee suggested. If it works, we can start mass treatment. The first treatments were successful. Within hours, dogs began showing improvement. Breathing eased. Energy returned. The crisis was becoming manageable, but not all cases went smoothly. 3 dogs were too far gone when they arrived. Their organs were failing. Park Ji-hee made the difficult decision to euthanize them humanely, ending their suffering. Talvesh watched human colonists weep over the bodies of these dogs. Adults and children both cried openly. The aliens found this puzzling. These were predators, dangerous animals. Why such grief? Because we loved them, one colonist explained through tears. They were family. The concept of loving a predator still confused most aliens. But Talvesh was beginning to understand. Love wasn't about logic. It was about connection. These humans had formed bonds with these animals. Real, deep bonds that transcended species. Young Choi Hyunwoo arrived on the next transport. His mother carried him because he was too weak to walk. Nuri, his white Jindo, was on a stretcher. The dog's breathing was shallow and labored. Please, Hyunwoo's mother begged. She keeps him alive. Without her, he's in constant danger. Talvesh examined Nuri quickly. The dog's condition was critical. Immediate intervention was needed. But the nearest qualified staff member was on the other side of the bay, treating another critical case. Vreshla, the Pylathian intern who'd fled earlier, was the closest. The intern stood frozen, staring at the large dog with multiple sets of eyes. I can't, Vreshla whispered. It growled at me before. I'm too scared. Hyunwoo looked up at the alien intern with tear-filled eyes. Please save her. I need her. She's my best friend. The child's voice, raw with fear and love, cut through Vreshla's panic. This wasn't about bravery. It was about need. A sick patient, a frightened child, a doctor's duty. Vreshla stepped forward on shaking legs. Tell me what to do. Hyunwoo's mother guided the intern. Move slowly. Let her smell you. Talk gently. Vreshla approached the stretcher carefully. Nuri's eyes opened, struggling to focus. The dog saw the alien and tried to lift her head weakly. A low rumble started in her throat. It's okay, Nuri, Hyunwoo said from his mother's arms. They're helping. Please trust them. The rumbling stopped. Nuri laid her head back down. Vreshla began the treatment, multiple appendages working with careful precision. The intern's training took over, pushing fear aside. You're doing great, Park Ji said, monitoring the intern's work. Just like that, time passed slowly. Vreshla worked with intense focus. Gradually, Nuri's breathing improved. The crisis passed. The dog would survive. When Nuri opened her eyes fully, she looked directly at Vreshla. Then, in a gesture that made the intern recoil, the dog licked the alien's face. What is it doing? Vreshla said in panic. Saying thank you, Hyunwoo said with a weak smile. She likes you. Vreshla stood still, dog saliva dripping from their alien features. The intern had just been licked by a predator, and somehow, incredibly, it felt like acceptance. Over the next 3 days, the epidemic was controlled. Of the 347 sick dogs, 329 survived. The alien medical staff, working alongside humans, had achieved something unprecedented. Quilvex, the Galactic Medical Council representative, observed everything. He interviewed staff, examined procedures, took extensive notes. Finally, he called a meeting with Dr. Talvesh and the senior staff. What I've witnessed here changes things, Quilvex said. Not just medically, but politically. You've proven that cross-species medical cooperation is possible, even with predators. The Council cannot ignore this. What happens now? Talvesh asked. I'm recommending that humans be allowed to keep their companion animals. But there will be conditions. education programs, safety protocols, a formal assessment system for any new species humans want to introduce. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. The humans accepted the terms. Before the new Busan departed to continue its journey, the colonists held a ceremony. Part 2. The surgery lasted 6 hours. Dr. Talvesh worked without stopping, 4 arms moving with precise grace while 2 others held instruments and adjusted medical equipment. Lee Do-hyun and Kwon Mina stood nearby, watching every movement. They didn't speak. They barely breathed. Outside the viewport, more station personnel had gathered to watch. Inside the cargo bay, only the hum of medical equipment broke the silence. Talvesh had sealed the major wounds, repaired damaged organs, and stabilized Bahram's vital signs. But there was one complication: a severed artery deep in the chest cavity. The doctor's arms were skilled, but even they struggled to reach the damaged vessel. "I need better access," Talvesh said. "The angle is wrong. If I apply more pressure, I might cause additional damage." Do-hyun leaned forward. "What can we do?" "Nothing," Talvesh admitted. "I just need to work slowly. Very slowly." But time was something they didn't have. Blood was pooling faster than the doctor could work. Bahram's heartbeat, displayed on the monitor, began to slow. The steady beep grew further apart. Talvesh increased his speed, but his hands started shaking. For the first time in 20 years of practice, the doctor felt helpless. Fear crept in. Not fear of the predator anymore, but fear of failure, of watching a patient die despite his best efforts. Do-hyun made a small sound, a catch in his throat that he tried to hide. His hands clenched into fists. Mina put her arm around his shoulders. "You can do it, doctor," she said quietly. "Please, he's all we have." The monitor's beeping slowed even more. Talvesh felt his own hearts racing. Then something changed. Do-hyun stepped closer to the table. He placed his hand gently on Bahram's head, careful not to interfere with the surgery. "Hold on, boy," the human whispered. "I'm here. Just hold on a little longer." Talvesh glanced at the heart monitor. The beeping stabilized. It didn't improve, but it stopped declining. The doctor's trained mind noted the correlation. The human's touch had a measurable effect on the dog's stress levels. Even unconscious, Bahram responded to Do-hyun's presence. This realization gave Talvesh the focus he needed. His hand steadied. He made the final repairs quickly but carefully. Biofoam sealed the damaged tissues. Synthetic vessels replaced the severed ones. Medical nanites went to work repairing damage at the cellular level. After what felt like hours but was only minutes, the doctor stepped back. "It's done. The surgery is complete." Do-hyun didn't move his hand from Bahram's head. "Will he survive?" "The next few hours will tell us," Talvesh said honestly. "But he has a chance." "A good chance." Mina wiped tears from her eyes. "Thank you, doctor. We'll never forget this." Talvesh looked at his arm, still stained with blood. His species avoided violence of any kind. The sight of blood triggered deep instinctual discomfort. But looking at it now, he felt only satisfaction. This was the blood of healing, not harm. Nurse Yix entered the cargo bay carrying additional medical supplies. The crystalline being's body pulsed with calm blue light now. "Doctor, the station administrator wishes to speak with you." "I'm sure they do," Talvesh said. "Tell them I'll give my report after the patient is stable." Over the next several hours, Bahram slowly recovered. His breathing steadied. His heart rate normalized. Color returned to his gums. As dawn cycle approached on the station, the dog's eyes fluttered open. The first thing Bahram saw was Do-hyun's face. The dog's tail moved weakly, a tiny thump against the table. Do-hyun laughed, a sound of pure relief and joy. "There's my boy," he said. "There you are." Talvesh watched this interaction with fascination. The predator's body language showed no aggression, only affection, trust, happiness. The relationship between human and dog was unlike anything the doctor had encountered before. Nurse Yix had been researching during the surgery. Now the crystalline being shared what they'd learned. "Doctor, I've been reading about human domestication practices. It's remarkable. Humans took wolves, one of their planet's apex predators, and over thousands of generations created partnerships. They bred them for specific traits: loyalty, gentleness, cooperation." "But why?" Talvesh asked. "Why would prey actively create predators?" "Humans aren't exactly prey," Yix said. "Their classification is complicated. They're persistence hunters, endurance predators, but they're also vulnerable to larger, stronger predators, so they formed alliances. Wolves became dogs. Dogs helped humans hunt, protected their camps, provided companionship. In return, humans provided food and shelter. Both species benefited, Talvesh said slowly. Exactly. It's symbiosis, partnership, not ownership or control. This concept was difficult for most galactic species to grasp. Evolution had created clear categories: predator, prey, parasite, host. But humans had found a middle path. They'd created something new. Word of the successful surgery spread quickly through Station Meridian. Species from across the station came to see the human and his dog. Most kept their distance, watching through viewports. Some braver souls entered the cargo bay, though they stayed near the exits. A young Calorian intern named Bextal approached Talvesh. "Doctor, I want to understand. How did you overcome your fear?" Talvesh considered the question. "I didn't overcome it. I worked through it. The fear was real, but so was the need. When you see a creature suffering, the desire to heal becomes stronger than the instinct to flee." "But it's a predator," Bextal said. "Doesn't that matter?" "It matters," Talvesh admitted. "But it's not the only thing that matters. Bahram is a predator, but he's also a patient, a companion, a friend to these humans. All of those things are true at once." As more visitors came, Do-hyun and Mina began answering questions. They explained about dogs, about the different breeds, about training and care, about the relationship between human and canine. "On Earth we have a saying," Do-hyun explained to a group of curious aliens. "A dog is man's best friend. It means dogs are loyal, loving, and trustworthy. They're part of our families." "But they're dangerous," one visitor said. "A small bird-like creature that instinctively feared anything with teeth." "They can be," Mina agreed. "But so can we. Humans are dangerous too. We're tool users. We have weapons. We wage wars, but we're also capable of love, compassion, and kindness. Dogs are the same. They have the capacity for violence, but they choose companionship instead." This sparked intense debate among the alien visitors. Some understood immediately. Others struggled with the concept. A few remained unconvinced, arguing that predators could never truly be safe. Talvesh listened to these debates while monitoring Bahram's recovery. The dog was healing quickly, faster than the doctor had expected. Human veterinary records showed dogs had remarkable recovery abilities, another product of their evolution alongside humans. 3 days after the surgery, Bahram was strong enough to stand. Do-hyun walked him slowly around the cargo bay, supporting his weight. The dog's tail wagged constantly. His entire body radiated happiness. Several alien observers watched this simple act with amazement. The predator wasn't restrained, no chains, no muzzle, no cage. It walked freely beside the human, trusting and trusted. "Doesn't it ever attack you?" someone asked. "Never," Do-hyun said. "Bahram would die before hurting me. That's not training, that's love." Nurse Yix approached Talvesh privately. "Doctor, the Galactic Medical Council is sending a representative. They want to investigate the situation." "Investigate what?" Talvesh asked. "I treated a patient. Saved a life." "You broke protocol," Yix reminded gently. "Class 5 predators require special facilities. You had none of that. By the regulations, you should have refused treatment." "Then the regulations need to change," Talvesh said firmly. "Medical care should be based on need, not on arbitrary classifications." The council representative arrived the next day. A Vrithian named Quilvex, tall and covered in geometric patterns that shifted colors with his moods. He interviewed Talvesh, the humans, and several witnesses. He examined all the records. He spent an hour simply observing Bahram. Finally, Quilvex called a meeting with all involved parties. "This situation is unprecedented," the representative said. "Humans have brought predators into galactic space. This raises many questions: safety, ethics, medical protocols. We cannot ignore these issues. What's to ignore?" Do-hyun asked. "Dogs have been part of human culture for 30,000 years. We're not giving them up just because some species are uncomfortable." "It's not about comfort," Quilvex replied. "It's about safety standards that have existed for millennia. These standards protect all species. They also discriminate," Mina pointed out. "You're saying an injured dog deserves less care than an injured herbivore. That's not medicine. That's prejudice." The debate continued for hours. Talvesh stayed quiet, listening. Both sides had valid points. Safety mattered, but so did compassion. Rules existed for good reasons, but sometimes rules needed to adapt to new situations. Finally, the doctor spoke. I have a proposal. Let me conduct a study, document the human-dog relationship, gather data on behavior, safety, medical needs, give the council evidence to make an informed decision. Quilvex considered this. That would take time. Possibly years. Then we have years, Talvesh said. But in the meantime, we cannot deny medical care to creatures just because they make us afraid. Fear is natural, but it's not a good basis for medical policy. The representative's geometric patterns shifted to thoughtful purple. I will take your proposal to the council. Part 4. 3 weeks after the new Busan departed, Dr. Talvesh sat in his quarters trying to understand his new companion. Duri, the small Pomeranian puppy, was currently chewing on one of his medical journals. The tiny dog had an endless supply of energy and absolutely no respect for Kilorian sleeping schedules. No, Talvesh said firmly, using one manipulator arm to retrieve the journal. That's not food. Duri yipped and immediately tried to climb into his lap. The puppy was small enough that all 6 of Talvesh's arms could hold her comfortably. Despite his initial reservations, the doctor found the experience oddly pleasant. The puppy's warmth and trust created feelings he hadn't expected. A sudden alert interrupted the peaceful moment. Emergency broadcast. All stations receiving. Talvesh accessed the message on his screen and felt his 3 hearts sink. Frontier Colony 447, nicknamed Hanyang, was under attack. Indigenous predators had breached the settlement's defenses. Hundreds of colonists were dead or injured. They were requesting immediate evacuation. The message included footage, massive creatures each weighing several hundred kilograms attacking the colony's walls. The aliens had 6 legs, armored hides, and claws that could tear through metal. The colonists called them scourges. They moved in coordinated packs and showed clear intelligence. Talvesh watched as human defenders fought desperately. Energy weapons fired, explosives detonated. But the scourges kept coming. The Galactic Rescue Service's response was immediate and disappointing. They refused to deploy to a death world under active predator assault. Their protocols were clear. High-risk planets were the colonists' responsibility. If they couldn't defend their settlement, they should have chosen a safer world. Talvesh found this response infuriating. These were people dying, children, families, and the galaxy's rescue services were hiding behind protocol. Within hours, a different response emerged. Human ships across the sector began converging on Hanyang. Cargo vessels, private transports, even a few military escorts. Li Doyun contacted the station personally. We're going, he said simply. The Rising Phoenix isn't a combat ship, but we can evacuate people. Every human vessel in range is helping. It's too dangerous, Talvesh argued. Those predators are killing armed defenders. What can civilian ships do? What we always do, Quan Mina said from beside Dohyun. Help our own. No human gets left behind. Talvesh made a decision that surprised even himself. I'm coming with you. There was silence on the communication channel. Then Dohyun spoke carefully. Doctor, this isn't like treating sick dogs on a station. This is a war zone. There will be casualties. Probably deaths. Are you sure? No, Talvesh admitted. But I'm a doctor. My skills might save lives. That's more important than my fear. Nurse Yix volunteered immediately. So did Vreshla, the young Palathian intern who'd overcome fear to treat Nuri. Bextal also stepped forward. Other aliens followed. For the first time in galactic history, a mixed-species medical team was preparing to deploy to an active combat zone. The station administrator tried to forbid it. You're civilians. You have no combat training. You'll get yourselves killed. Maybe, Talvesh said. But people are dying right now while we debate. I'd rather die trying to help than live knowing I did nothing. The Rising Phoenix departed Station Meridian with a full medical team aboard. Other human ships joined them, forming a small rescue fleet. As they traveled through hyperspace, Talvesh reviewed the colony's records. Hanyang was a beautiful world, lush forests, clean air, rich soil. The colonists had chosen it for its Earth-like environment, but they'd underestimated the planet's apex predators. The scourges had been content to avoid the settlement at first. Then something changed. The predators became aggressive, testing defenses, learning human tactics. They're intelligent, Park Jae noted. She'd delayed the new Busan's departure to join the rescue effort. Tool users, problem solvers, that makes them incredibly dangerous. Like humans, Mina observed quietly. Yes, Park Ji-hye agreed. Like humans, that's why they're such a threat. They can adapt. The fleet emerged from hyperspace above Hanyang. The planet's beauty was undeniable, but so was the smoke rising from the colony. Large sections of the settlement were on fire. The defensive walls were breached in multiple locations. They landed inside the colony's central zone, the only area still relatively secure. Armed defenders surrounded the landing zones, weapons ready. They looked exhausted, desperate. Commander Shin Ji-woo, who'd traveled with the new Busan security forces, took charge of coordinating the defense. She was a former Earth Defense Force officer, trained for exactly this kind of situation. We need to hold the perimeter until everyone's evacuated, she explained to the assembled rescue teams. The Scourges attack in waves. They're testing our defenses, looking for weaknesses. We can't let them breach the central zone. Talvesh and the medical team set up in the colony's hospital. The building was already full of wounded. Humans with terrible injuries. Some would die without immediate treatment. The alien medical staff felt overwhelming horror at the carnage, but there was no time for hesitation. Talvesh moved through the wounded, assessing, prioritizing, treating. His 6 arms worked constantly. Beside him, Freshla and Bextal performed emergency procedures they'd only read about in textbooks. Dr. Oh Ji-yeon, the colony's veterinarian, was treating wounded in a separate area. When Talvesh found her, she was performing surgery on a human colonist because the human doctors were overwhelmed. The medical staff is stretched too thin, she said without looking up. I'm doing what I can, but I'm trained for animals, not people. Where are your animal patients? Talvesh asked. Oh Ji-yeon gestured to another room. In there. 7 dogs wounded in the fighting. I haven't had time to treat them. The humans come first. Talvesh looked into the room and froze. These weren't the gentle companion dogs he'd treated before. These were war dogs. German shepherds and Belgian Malinois wearing tactical harnesses. Their injuries were severe, but their eyes remained alert, watching everything. They've been fighting, Talvesh asked. Defending, Oh Ji-yeon corrected. Dogs can detect scourges before our sensors can. They've saved dozens of lives, but it's cost them. One of the wounded dogs, a large Jindo named Baekdu, was in critical condition. Freshla saw Talvesh hesitate and stepped forward. I'll treat them, the Palathian intern said. Show me what needs doing. Oh Ji-yeon looked at the alien with surprise and gratitude. Thank you. There's a German shepherd named Hana who needs immediate surgery. The rest need wound care and pain management. While Vreshila worked on the dogs, Talvesh returned to treating human casualties. The work was brutal. Not everyone could be saved. Talvesh experienced his first patient deaths in years. Each one felt like a personal failure. As night fell on the colony, the Scourges attacked in force. Talvesh heard the sounds of battle. Energy weapons firing, explosions, screams. The hospital shook as something massive struck the outer defenses. Then a communication came through. A child was trapped in an outlying building with his dog. Scourges had surrounded the structure. A rescue team was being assembled, but time was critical. Commander Shin Ji-woo led the rescue team. Lee Do-yeon went with her, and so did Baram. The Sea. German Shepherd wore a tactical harness now, transformed from friendly companion into focused warrior. His eyes had changed. The predator nature that evolution created was fully present. Talvesh watched them depart, understanding finally what humans truly were. They could be gentle and loving, but when threatened, when protecting those they cared about, they became something else. Something dangerous. The rescue team reached the building and found young Choi Hyunwoo hiding in a storage room. His service dog Nuri stood between him and the door, teeth bared. A scourge had breached the building and was approaching. The alien predator was enormous up close. 3 meters of muscle and armor and rage. It saw the small white dog and the human child and advanced slowly, recognizing easy prey. Nuri didn't flee. She attacked. She was a service dog, trained for medical alerts, not combat. But when the scourge lunged at Hyunwoo, Nuri threw herself forward. Teeth found alien flesh. The scourge roared in surprise and pain. The fight was brief and brutal. Nuri fought with everything she had, but she was outmatched. The scourge's claws found her. Blood splattered the floor. Then Baram arrived with Shin Ji-woo and Do-hyun. The German shepherd and the human commander moved as one unit. Baram distracted the scourge while Shin Ji-woo fired her weapon at vulnerable points. Do-hyun pulled Hyunwoo to safety. More defenders arrived. The scourge was driven back and killed. But Nuri lay bleeding, barely conscious. They rushed her back to the hospital. Vreshla was covered in blood from treating other dogs. But when the intern saw Nuri, there was no hesitation. "Get her on the table. Now." Hyunwoo held onto a defender's hand, sobbing. "Please save her. Please save her again." Talvesh assisted Vreshla with the surgery. The injuries were severe, multiple lacerations, broken ribs, internal bleeding. They worked for 2 hours while the battle raged outside. Finally, Vreshla stepped back, exhausted. She'll live. But it was close. Talvesh looked at the Palathian intern with respect. Fear was still present in Vreshla's multiple eyes. But so was determination. The intern had evolved beyond instinct into something greater. Part 5 news of the Hanyang evacuation spread across the galaxy faster than hyperspace communications. Footage showed humans fighting alongside their predators against other predators. It showed alien medical staff treating wounded dogs and humans without discrimination. It showed Commander Shin Ji-woo and Baram working as a perfect team. The galactic response was mixed. Some species praised the rescue effort. Others saw it as confirmation of their worst fears. Humans were comfortable with violence. They trained predators for war. They fought instead of retreating. Quilvex, the Galactic Medical Council representative, watched all the footage with his geometric patterns shifting through complex color sequences. Finally, he contacted Dr. Talvesh directly. "Doctor, I need your testimony. The council is meeting to discuss the human situation. Your perspective will be valuable." "What situation?" Talvesh asked. "Humans saved 2,000 colonists. That's not a situation. That's heroism." Some council members see it differently. They see humans bringing predators to peaceful space stations, training animals for combat, fighting when retreat is logical. They want restrictions placed on human expansion and their companion animals. Talvesh felt anger surge through his 3 hearts. That's discrimination. Fear disguised as policy. Perhaps, Quilvex agreed. But fear isn't always irrational. Present your case to the council. Make them understand what you've learned. The council meeting took place 2 weeks later. Representatives from hundreds of species attended in person or by hologram. The chamber was enormous, designed to accommodate the galaxy's diversity. Talvesh stood at the center, feeling very small. The charges against humans were presented first. They had introduced dangerous predators to civilized space. They had demonstrated comfort with violence. They had violated numerous safety protocols. The speaker, a Varanian diplomat, argued for strict limitations on human activity. "We cannot allow a species this comfortable with predators to operate freely. It sets a dangerous precedent. Next, they'll want to bring even more dangerous creatures. Where does it end?" Then it was Talvesh's turn to speak. The Calorian doctor looked around the massive chamber and began simply. "I was afraid," he said. "When I first saw Baram, I couldn't move. Every instinct told me to flee. This creature was designed by evolution to hunt and kill. How could I approach it safely?" The chamber was silent. Everyone understood that fear. It was universal among prey species. But then I saw something else. I saw a human holding this predator gently. I saw the predator trust that human completely. And I saw that the predator was scared and hurt. It needed help. That realization was more powerful than my fear. Talvesh described the surgery, the colony ship epidemic, the Hanyang evacuation. He spoke about Vreshla overcoming terror to treat Nuri, about young Hyunwoo and the service dog that kept him alive, about Commander Shin Ji-woo and Baram working together. Humans didn't make predators less dangerous, Talvesh explained. They created partnerships with dangerous creatures based on mutual benefit and respect. The dogs protect humans. Humans care for dogs. Both species became better together. But they trained them for war, someone objected. We saw the combat footage. They trained some for protection, yes, Talvesh agreed. Just as we train our security forces. But most dogs are companions, friends, family members. The war dogs exist because humans live on dangerous frontier worlds. They need allies who can fight when necessary. Park Ji-hee spoke next, presenting scientific data. She showed genetic research on domestication, behavioral studies on human-dog bonds, medical evidence of the health benefits both species received from the relationship. On Earth, we have thousands of animal species, she explained. Most we left alone. Some we farm for food. But dogs we invited into our homes. We made them part of our families. That's not control or domination. That's love. The word love caused ripples through the chamber. Many species struggled with the concept of loving another species, especially a predator. Commander Shin Ji-woo spoke about the practical benefits. Dogs detect dangers humans can't sense. They provide emotional support during long space voyages. They assist people with disabilities. They're not weapons. They're partners. Young Choi Hyun-woo testified by video link, sitting beside a fully recovered Nuri. She saves my life almost every day, the child said. Not by fighting. By knowing when I'm going to have a seizure and warning me. I wouldn't be here without her. Please don't take her away. The testimony continued for hours. Lee Do-yun and Kwon Mina spoke about life with Baram. Dr. Oh Ji-yeon presented veterinary data. Vreshla described overcoming fear to provide medical care. Finally, Quilvex addressed the council. We face a choice. We can let fear guide us, restricting humans and their companions based on discomfort. Or we can acknowledge that we're witnessing something unprecedented. A relationship that defies our traditional categories. I propose a new classification for the council's consideration. The Vrithian displayed a document on the chamber's main screen. Symbiotic partnership species. Animals that have co-evolved with sentient species to form mutually beneficial relationships. These partnerships should be recognized and protected under galactic law. The debate that followed was intense. Some council members supported the proposal immediately. Others resisted, arguing it was too radical. The discussion went on for days. During breaks, Talvesh walked the gardens outside the council building with Duri. The small Pomeranian had grown in the months since he'd received her. She was still tiny but full of personality. She chased insects, barked at birds, and demanded constant attention. You're exhausting, Talvesh told her. But he said it fondly. Nurse Yix found him there one evening. Doctor, have you considered what you'll do if the council rules against humans? I'll keep Duri, Talvesh said immediately. Regardless of what they decide, she's part of my life now. I can't imagine giving her up. That's the bond they're trying to understand, Yix observed. You, a prey species bonded to a predator. It shouldn't be possible by standard evolutionary theory. But it happened anyway. Because evolution is just one force, Talvesh said. Choice is another. I chose to overcome my fear. Duri chose to trust me. Together we created something new. The council reached its decision on the 7th day of deliberation. The vote was close, but the proposal passed. Humans could keep their companion animals. The dogs would be recognized as symbiotic partnership species under galactic law. But there were conditions. Humans had to provide education about their animals to other species. Any new animal species had to go through assessment before being introduced to galactic space. And incidents involving dogs would be carefully investigated. It wasn't everything the humans wanted, but it was enough. The dogs were safe. Station Meridian underwent changes after the council's decision. Dr. Talvesh was appointed director of the new Interspecies Relations Institute. The facility's mission was to study cross-species bonds and develop best practices for multi-species cooperation. Park Ji-hee joined as chief researcher. Nurse Yix became senior medical coordinator. Vreshla accepted a permanent position, having found a calling in veterinary medicine. Bextal and other young aliens who'd participated in the rescue efforts joined the staff. The Institute's first major project was educational. Teams traveled to stations and colonies across the galaxy, teaching about dogs. Many species remained uncomfortable, but understanding grew slowly. Lee Do-hyun and Kwon Mina returned to their cargo routes but stopped at Station Meridian regularly. Baram was famous now, the dog that had bridged the gap between species. Other human ships started bringing their dogs aboard the station openly. What had once been forbidden became accepted. The Hanyang colonists resettled on a safer world, one without dangerous indigenous predators. They named their new settlement New Hanyang and built a memorial for those lost in the evacuation. 7 dog statues stood beside the human memorials, honoring the canines who'd given their lives protecting the colony. Choi Hyun-woo grew up with Nuri at his side. The white Jindo bore scars from the Hanyang attack, but remained gentle and loving. When other children asked about the scars, Hyun-woo told them the truth. His best friend was a hero. Commander Shin Ji-woo established a training program for humans and dogs working on frontier worlds. Not combat training, but survival and partnership skills, teaching both species to work together in dangerous situations. The program was hugely successful. 3 years after the Council's decision, Dr. Talvesh gave a lecture at the Galactic Medical Academy. The subject was cross-species empathy and medical ethics. Students from dozens of species attended. Duri, now an older dog with gray around her muzzle, slept peacefully in Talvesh's lap throughout the lecture. Several students had brought dogs with them, part of the Institute's exchange program. The sight no longer shocked anyone. When I first met Lee Do-yun and Baram, Talvesh told the students, I thought the human was blind to danger. I thought he couldn't see the predator right in front of him. But I was wrong. The human saw something I missed. He saw past the teeth and claws to the person inside. He saw fear, pain, and need, and he responded with compassion. Part 1, the cargo ship shook violently as it approached Station Meridian. Inside the cockpit, Lee Do-hyun gripped the controls with both hands, sweat running down his face. Warning lights flashed across every screen. His co-pilot, Kwon Mina, worked frantically at her station trying to keep the damaged systems online. Hull breach in Cargo Bay 3, Mina called out. We're losing atmosphere. Seal it, Do-hyun said through clenched teeth. We're almost there. The massive medical station grew larger in the viewport. Station Meridian was the best veterinary hospital in known space. Ships came from hundreds of worlds to treat sick or injured animals here. The station's staff were famous for their skill and gentleness. Every species trusted them. Do-hyun just hoped they would help him now. The ship lurched as docking clamps grabbed hold. Emergency lights bathed the bay in red. Automated systems scanned the damaged vessel, checking for hazards. Suddenly, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Unauthorized life form detected, the computer announced. Class 5 Predator. Death World origin. All personnel maintain safe distance. In the station's medical center, Dr. Talvesh heard the announcement and felt his 3 hearts begin racing. A Class 5 Predator meant extreme danger. His species, the Calorians, were peaceful herbivores. Every instinct in his body screamed danger when predators were near. His 6 delicate arms trembled slightly. Doctor, you're needed at Docking Bay 7, his assistant nurse Yix called out. The crystalline being's body pulsed with nervous yellow light. The humans have brought something aboard. Talvesh gathered his medical kit with shaking hands. He had treated thousands of creatures from across the galaxy, gentle herbivores, small omnivores, even some minor predators. But a Class 5? Those were the apex hunters, the killers that sat at the top of the food chain. Security met him at the docking bay entrance. 4 armed guards, their weapons drawn. Through the viewport, Talvesh could see the damaged human ship. Scorch marks covered its hull. Several panels were missing entirely. What happened to them? Talvesh asked. Pirates, one guard said. They fought them off but took heavy damage. That's not the problem, though. Look at the scanner readings. Talvesh looked at the screen. The predator was large, perhaps 40 kilograms. Heavily muscled, equipped with sharp teeth designed for tearing flesh, claws, enhanced senses. Everything about the creature said hunter. Why would humans bring a predator onto their ship? Talvesh wondered aloud. Maybe it got aboard during the fight, the guard suggested. Either way, we need to determine if it's a threat before we let them disembark. The airlock hissed open. Lee Do-yun stepped out first, his clothes torn and dirty. Kwon Mina followed behind him. They both looked exhausted. But what caught everyone's attention was what Do-hyun carried in his arms. The predator was massive, covered in short black and tan fur. Its body was lean and powerful. Blood matted its side where something had torn through flesh. The creature's breathing was labored. And its mouth, filled with teeth designed to kill, hung open slightly. Every alarm in Talvesh's genetic memory fired at once. Run. Hide. Flee. The message was clear and ancient. This creature was death. Do-hyun looked up at the frozen medical staff and security team. Confusion crossed his tired face. "Please," he said. "He needs help." "He's hurt badly." Talvesh tried to step forward. His medical training said move, assess, treat, but his body wouldn't obey. His legs locked. His arms pulled tight against his body. His large eyes fixed on the predator's teeth. I cannot," Talvesh whispered. "What?" Do-hyun looked genuinely surprised. "He's dying. You're doctors, right? Please help him." "That is a Class 5 predator," one security guard said, weapon still raised. "We cannot allow it into the station. It must be contained or destroyed." "Destroyed?" Mina's voice rose sharply. "Are you insane? That's Baram. He's family. It has a name?" Nurse Yix pulsed with confused orange light. "Of course he has a name," Do-hyun said. He looked down at the creature in his arms. The predator, Baram, whimpered softly. "He's my friend. He's been with me for 8 years. During the pirate attack, he put himself between us and them. He took shrapnel that was meant for Mina." Talvesh watched as Do-hyun's hand gently stroked the predator's head. The creature, despite its obvious pain, leaned into the touch. Its eyes, dark and deep, looked up at the human with clear trust. "He protected you," the guard asked slowly. "The predator defended you?" "He's not just a predator," Mina said angrily. "He's a dog. Dogs have lived with humans for 30,000 years. They're our companions, our partners, our friends." Talvesh had heard of this human custom. When his species first met humanity, the reports had been confusing. Humans lived with predators. They brought them into their homes, fed them, cared for them, loved them. It made no sense to most galactic species. "I understand your attachment," Talvesh said carefully, still unable to move closer. "But you must understand our position. We are prey species. Every instinct we have tells us to flee from creatures like yours. I want to help, but I cannot approach it safely." "Him," Do-hyun corrected. "Not it, him, and his name is Baram." The dog whimpered again, louder this time. Blood dripped onto the floor. Do-hyun's face showed growing desperation. "Please," the human said. "I'm begging you. He saved our lives. Let me save his." Talvesh looked at Nurse Yix. The crystalline being pulsed with uncertain colors. The security guards kept their weapons trained on the dog. Station regulations were clear. Class 5 predators required special containment facilities. They didn't have those here. "The regulations exist for good reason," Talvesh said. "I'm sorry, but we cannot treat your companion. It's too dangerous." Do-hyun stared at the doctor for a long moment. Then he looked down at Baram. The dog's breathing had become more shallow. Time was running out. "Fine," Do-hyun said quietly. "Then I'll do it myself." He turned and walked back toward his ship, carrying Baram carefully. Mina followed, throwing an angry look at the assembled aliens. "You're making a mistake," she said. "We came here because you're supposed to be the best, because you're supposed to help any creature in need. I guess that only applies when you're not scared." The airlock closed behind them. Talvesh stood frozen, 6 arms hanging uselessly at his sides. Nurse Yix moved closer. "Doctor, should we—" "No," Talvesh said. "The regulations are clear. We cannot help." But even as he said it, the words felt wrong. He was a doctor. Healing was his purpose. And inside that ship, a creature was dying while its companion desperately tried to save it. Through the viewport, Talvesh could see into the cargo bay. Do-hyun had laid Baram on a makeshift table. The human was gathering medical supplies, his movements quick but shaky. Mina stood beside him, pulling up medical files on a data screen. "He's going to try to operate," Talvesh said.
"He'll fail."
"Human hands are too large for such delicate work. The supplies on a cargo ship are meant for humans, not for creatures like that." "Like Baram," Yix corrected softly. "The human called him Baram." "Yes," Talvesh said. "Like Baram." The doctor watched as Do-hyun made the first incision. The human's hands were steady, but Talvesh could see the fear in his movements. This was a man operating on something precious, knowing he might fail. Baram remained still under sedation, trusting, vulnerable. The predator had become prey, dependent entirely on the skill of another, and suddenly, Talvesh understood what Do-hyun had tried to tell them. He's scared, not the humans. The dog. Baram was frightened and hurt and needed help. Just like any other patient Talvesh had ever treated. The teeth and claws didn't change that. The predator classification didn't change that. The doctor's 6 arms stopped trembling. "I need to get in there," Talvesh said. "Doctor." Yix pulsed with surprised green light. The regulations are about to be broken, Talavesh finished. Get my surgical kit, the advanced one, and call the station administrator. Tell them I'm treating a patient. They can file whatever complaints they want afterward. Without waiting for a response, Talavesh walked toward the airlock. His hearts were pounding. His instincts were screaming. But his duty was clear. Inside the cargo bay, Do-hyun looked up as the alien doctor entered. Hope and surprise mixed on the human's tired face. I need you to step aside, Talavesh said. You're doing your best, but I can do better. Let me help. Do-hyun moved immediately, making room at the table. Thank you, he said, his voice breaking slightly. Thank you so much. Talavesh approached the table slowly. Barum lay unconscious, breathing weakly. Up close, the predator was even more imposing. But the doctor focused on the wounds, not the teeth. On the patient, not the predator. 4 of his 6 arms began working while the other 2 manipulated instruments. His people's natural dexterity made delicate surgery possible. Within minutes, he had done more than Do-hyun could have managed in an hour. Will he make it? Mina asked quietly. Unknown, Talavesh said honestly. The damage is severe, but I will do everything I can. The doctor worked in focused silence. Outside, more station personnel gathered at the viewport. Word was spreading. Dr. Talavesh was treating a Class 5 predator, breaking decades of protocol, risking everything. But as the Kilorian's skilled hand saved Barum's life, something else was happening. Barriers were breaking, fear was giving way to understanding, and the humans watched the alien doctor work, seeing compassion triumph over instinct.